Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thy Art Above Climate Change and the production of treason of climate change. You can find me on Facebook, Above Climate Change, or titled Treason of Climate Change. And you'll see this pretty picture that really brings up a good question of the why climate change by CO2 is not real. I strongly recommend going down here to where it says about treason of climate change. Click on this and you come up with a brief definition. And while it points the finger at the GF, it's much bigger than that. It's the global elite bankers, $100 trillion easily by the end of this century being spent on just renewable energy, never mind all the grant money and everything else that's flying out the door in every which direction of our tax money. The best way to look at this is to say if you buy a coal plant, from that, or do a coal mine or an oil mine, you drill for oil, everything that comes out of that is your energy. That is the profit. With a solar panel, the profit and the energy, all of that money is paid up front because you're paying for your energy in the extra cost of the solar panel. And it may actually, in the long term, be cheaper, but you're paying for it up front. So that means somebody's got to put the money in. There's either an investor that's going to be taking money from it, or there's a banker that's going to be taking money from it. That's what this is all about, nothing more. And if you figure the interest on $100 trillion, you'll know why the elite bankers, this is as big as their central banking system and their stock exchange system. And those people thinking that this is socialist and getting us away from these big global oilers, watch this video. It's called Why Big Oil Conquered the World. Okay, back onto the story. NASA, okay? NASA, Earth Observatory. Antarctica melts under its hottest day on record. February 6, 2020, we have Esperanza base, the peninsula reaching 18.3 C or 65, about 64.9 Fahrenheit. So 65 or 18, just remember those numbers. We're not going to see anything close. What's up with that? Did a article on it. They may have more on there. I'll post these links of most of this below the video. So here we go. Weather Channel, weather.com, 6th of February, 49. What are we looking at? 65. So we're 16 degrees short of that number, according to weather.com. And now we're looking at 53, even a higher temperature on the 7th. This is the high temperature and this is low temperature for the day. As you can see, Esperanza base, Antarctica, monthly weather. And it's prediction of 27 for today. So let's move on. Wikipedia, another worthless entity that just is full out, blown out Agenda 21. Quick to update this, probably even before the WMO of the United Nations, which is Agenda 21's supportive there. They're the ones pushing Agenda 21. So they've already got it in a Wikipedia, but anyone knows that Wikipedia is overall trash for research purposes. So where is this located? This is located right here, and we can see Esperanza base. You can see roads, and I'm going to point out the roads because, if you're covered in snow, you don't really kind of build roads to, and if you look getting close on the imagery, you can, the lines don't usually match up, but you can see that there's actual pathways, roads, like is in right there. You can see it split off, how it actually goes. So there's roads there. It means they probably got vehicles, and that'll get to the vehicles later on and plausibly how they got this temperature record. This location being right here, it at greatest as nautical twilight. It does not even become close to a nighttime. This is sunset and sunrise. Most of Antarctica it's summertime on February 6th. Let me go minus 1 day, just to make it exactly accurate. So we can see that it doesn't even get dark so to say. The sun just goes below the horizon and then comes back about 9.5, 10 hours later. This I'm showing because of how cold it is. I want you to see sea surface temperature with a line and a 0 indicating what the sea surface temperature is, meaning 0 Celsius. This is the line for 0 Celsius. So most all this water that we're seeing from here is freezing. Base Esperanza is right here. This is ice, very close drift ice, but really what it is, it's when you hear of a shelf ice breaking off as big as Delaware, Los Angeles, or New York, or as big as the Alaska state. It's a chunk being broken off from here from surges coming from under or the weight of the snow that keeps getting added onto it, and eventually it starts cracking and breaking, and a big chunk of ice floats up here and melts away. So, okay. So we can see that it's really cold in the middle of summer. We're talking 17 February. The best way to compare that would be minus 6 months and say, what is February? That's like 17 August in northern hemisphere time, so the middle of August. So base Bernardo O'Higgins, Antarctica, we can see on the 6th of February 2020, 39. In other words, it didn't even come close. And the reason I'm bringing this base up is that it is located right here on the tip of Antarctica. And of course, so any wind coming from this direction to create heat, as you can see, this is the location of Esperanza base right there. Again, bringing it back in, Esperanza base. Okay, so there's no heat coming from that direction. That's reached 40 supposedly on that. Still, we're claiming 49 for Esperanza. So let's look at Bellinghausen Station. And there's an important reason. The temperature either had to be because of still air or air in motion that came in place to that blew in that direction, a front or something. So here we go. 6th of February right here. We can see we're not even making 35 degrees Fahrenheit. And down here, this is the wind that would have came in that direction to heat it up, but it's colder. Most of the temperature at that time was below freezing. So the chances are that the wind came from this direction is very unlikely. Okay. Now let's look at weather base, and they're either they have 77 for a high for Esperanza, Antarctica, for the highest temperature in December, and the highest temperature in February is 72. Well, and that's Fahrenheit. So something's wrong with this. So either we're not hearing the true story, or they just shot their reliability in the foot, is what they did with weatherbase.com. Here's just the Argentina bases, okay? These base Esperanza, these are just the ones from Argentina. None of them reported any superior, super high record temperatures, just Esperanza, sitting well in the middle of all of them. So I posted a thing on AccuWeather, of course, and this became quite a sham, because you can look at this and go, this is Esperanza, 39, 41, 43, and looking at the other numbers. Now let's go to a different base, Arctoski, something like that, 39, 41, 43. The same thing. There's a lot of bases, Argentina, Chile, Russia, United States, Australia, most countries that are first world have a base in Antarctica. So the bases that I showed here are just a small portion of the bases around here that should have had broken records, but they didn't. So the temperature right now, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's close that down. So what we want to look at now is what did the weather forecasting systems report during that period of time. I'm going to bring up windy.com, and then I'm going to bring up Ventusky. Windy is nice because it provides a lot of information in some ways. I like it a little bit better, but it does not have a future, a past. It doesn't have cold history. So at that point, it becomes almost worthless. Earth Null School has history, but I think it's restricted to the day. I don't think there's a way to change it to the actual time. So again, what I wanted to point out is if you were to go rain, snow depth, you'll find that most of these areas have close to more than 5 meters of snow. Okay, that's a pretty deep amount of snow. That's because this is a mountain range right here that that kicks the air up, and it causes the warm air coming from the ocean. Let's go wind. You can see that there's a very high speed wind. This 50 to 60 latitudes is always almost just shy of hurricane weather. We can see the gust speeds reaching 60 miles an hour here, and probably equivalent there. And you can see the opposite of what we notice in the northern hemisphere. You see these circling the opposite direction. So that's good for that. Let's close that one down. Let's bring up Ventusky. All right. So here we are at Ventusky. Here's base Esperanza is right there. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see where we're at. Okay, this is Antarctica. And if you get down to Antarctica, you can see extremely cold. This is midsummer. We're seeing negative 53. Oh, someone said there might be actual negative 50 degree temperatures in Antarctica. Hey, that's already there. Oh, whatever. Yeah. So let me get back on to this location. And the reason I'm going to be on this location is I'm going to come here real quick. This is my last thing to do. So be patient with me just a little bit more. 6th February. And what we can see is base, Esperanza base right there, is showing 7C. And we were seeing, what, 26. So let me go with Fahrenheit, since we're trying to see a 50 or 65 degree Fahrenheit temperature or an 18 degree Celsius. We're seeing 7. So we're 10 Celsius off and quite a bit off there. What I can do is I can change times frame and bounce around between every 3 hours and see what the temperature readings were. 41, 40. So it's pretty stable at in the mid to low 40s throughout most of the day. Nothing special in this area. Now, what I want to point out first, before I get too deep in this, is that I'm on Icon. Let me change to GFS. These are weather reporting systems. And what they do is they update their information every so often, and this website gets the updates every 6 hours. So there's no further than 6 hours out of date of the latest accuracy. In other words, it may report here, and here it'll, for the next 6 hours, next 2 units, it'll drift maybe a few degrees from the accuracy because it was forecasted, but then in 6 hours later, they're going to update again. So we're only getting usually 1 to 5 hours off from the latest forecasted temperature for that location. Okay, back to what we were doing. So here, we're using GFS NOAA. Okay, we're seeing 37. We're seeing 36. We're seeing 37. And of course 36. So it's staying below 40 for the NOAA model. Let's go back to the 2nd of February, and we'll see 30, 34, 32, 31. So somewhere in here, we're seeing the highest temperature. So I want to go ahead and go to the 3rd of February. So all we're seeing is colder temperatures, pretty much at freezing level before then. Even on the 5th of February 2020, NOAA was reporting with their GFS weather forecasting that it was 28 Fahrenheit on the 5th. This was supposedly when the warmth came in. And of course, we go to the 6th, 35. And I apologize for going so quick with some of these times because I really have a lot to squish in and I'm trying to get it. Well, I already blew 15 minutes. I didn't even think I was going to blow 15 minutes, but I sure did. Oh well. So here we go. 35. So no temperature in this whole region. 39. Ooh, that's up there. And I'm doing the same time of day, and it really is going to go down when I go there. So I'm using the one that's most likely the warmest at. Literally nothing in the weather forecasting system, either ICON, GFS, or any of them, to indicate being literally well over 14 degrees was, I think, the closest we had, which was the weather.com. 15 degrees, so that's about 7 Celsius or so, within that temperature record. So where they got that temperature record, that's questionable. The big thing is, it did not come from down below. Put us back on the right day. It did not come from down below and down into. It did not come from this location. So it did not come from anywhere in this direction. It cannot come from this direction. This is all ice or mountains and snow. So where did it come from? The only way it could have came in was from here. The best option is that maybe there was no wind at all, which we're seeing wind speeds of 15 miles an hour, wind gusts 17 for that period of time. We can change it around a little bit. So it actually got a little bit slower. Would I have to have literally still wind to have that temperature coming from off the ground? And that point would prove that they have a badly located sensor. In other words, it's sitting on that terrain that Antarctica is, which is pretty much rocky, hard, and sunlight would heat that up and cause a false indication of a high temperature. In other words, bad location of sensor. More likely a big lighter or maybe a, what do you say, the exhaust of one of the vehicles on those little short road paths that they have. Something isn't right with this. Well, thank you, and hope you found that some information in there that was worthwhile.